Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. We're very happy to be starting another week of Let's Do Lunch. Today, as Monday always is our Business of Streaming Day. And we have a terrific show for you today. Before I introduce our guests, let me remind you that you're welcome to introduce yourselves in the chat. We love to know who's here. So the chat is on the bottom nav, and you just click on it, and then in the drop down, please change it from just all panelists to all panelists and attendees so that everybody can see your introductions. You're welcome to drop links in as well. It's a great way to meet people and to comment during the discussion today. If you do have questions today during the panel, please put them in the Q&A area. It's just to the left of the chat on the bottom nav, and that way it'll be easy for our speakers to see your introductions. Okay, as I mentioned, we have a great show today. We're going to talk about how subscription intelligence is reshaping OTT. Our show today is sponsored by our friends at Vindicia. Thank you very much for coming out and supporting the show today. And without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. Ioana Dayagi is head of product at Vindicia. Welcome to the show, Ioana.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
I love your background. Great to have you on the show. And our moderator today is none other than Colin Dixon, Chief Analyst and founder of Endscreen Media. Welcome, Colin.
Oh, what a surprise to see you here, Ned. Goodness me.
I try to be here every Monday. Have a great show.
Thank you very much. Well, as you said, Ned, we do have a great show. We've called it Smarter, Better, Faster, How Subscription Intelligence is Reshaping OTT. And if you are in the business of online television, this could be one of the most important sessions that you listen to that we give on Mondays, because Ioana has a ton of really actionable information that you can use to improve the bottom line of your service. So with that said, let's jump right in. Oh, I should just say, I want to re-emphasize, please, if you have questions, enter them in the Q&A window. I won't see them if they're in the chat window, although I am watching the chats fly by. So yeah, please do enter those in the Q&A window. So Ioana, why don't you first introduce Vindicia and then tell us a little bit about what you do for the company.
So Vindicia is a company that was one of the pioneers in the digital subscription area. It's doing actually subscription and payments. And 4 years ago or 5 years ago, Vindicia was acquired by Amdocs. And since then, we are actually enlarging our portfolio of products and offerings. And today we can say that we are serving B2C companies from the beginning of the customer flow, from the ordering till the billing and the payment, including retention and user management and partner management. So we have a broader spec of products.
Very good. And you're head of product.
Yes. So I was working with Amdocs and with big telco companies around the world, building products for them. And I was there seeing the telcos, understanding that the entertainment is actually a natural diversification for them. And now that I am in Vindicia, I'm very happy to be part of this dynamic industry, the subscription industry. And I'm happy to be part of building new products for the new needs that are changing every day.
Well, I think it's fair to say that that it is a very dynamic industry, changing a lot. But some things have sort of settled into a pattern, and one of those is order processing, and that might not necessarily be a good thing, right? So thinking about order processing a little bit, I'm constantly surprised at how much of a barrier entering a credit card is. I know it gives me a lot of pause for thought when a subscription service where I'm signing up for a free trial asks me for my credit card. Are companies making a mistake by asking for a credit card right then when you're doing the free trial?
So it depends. For free trials, no, we don't recommend to ask for payment. any payment information, because actually if it is free, so it's free. You should give me the option to feel that I can come and go, and I will not be hooked up in a service that afterwards it will be, you know, start to charge me without me giving the consent for it. So this is one thing. The other part is that if you don't want to go with free trials, but you want customers on your platform, you still need to make the payment and all the onboarding process very, very seamless for customers, and to try to capture only the relevant information. So if you want the payment, ask for the payment. Don't start and ask where you live, what is your email, what is your name, what is everything that you can gather. Try to gather this information maybe later on when the customer is coming back to your platform for something else, for adding a product. So try to keep it only to what is required.
So I had an SBOD provider tell me that they didn't ask for the credit card at the free trial. They waited until they saw the customer was engaged with content, and then they asked. Is that the right approach to take?
I think it is the right approach, and each company should decide what are their limits and how much they can give content for free. But I think that once you are hooked in the service, you will more willingly want to pay for it. So I think this is a good approach.
So we mentioned free trials. That's a very critical feature. Do you think they're effective? Particularly, should big brands be offering them? Because I've noticed that a couple of brands have actually stopped offering free trials. Disney Plus dropped it. Yeah. Will they suffer because of that?
I think that free trials, you need to, depends on your business model and your business plan, you need to consider the best way to acquire customers. If you are at the beginning of your company and you don't have a lot of people that are subscribed to your service, or you are not a very well-known brand out there, you might want to offer free trials. So this will be a way for people to know what you're offering. But if you're already a lead provider, we see that free trials are not so much popular anymore for those lead brands. Instead, they are using different techniques, either introductory prices, so you attract new users, but with a lower price, not giving it for free. Or if you're giving a free trials, you should minimize the period, like making it instead of 1 month, maybe make it 1 week. This is something that also can help.
Now, what are some of can you offer us any guidance about how you actually price the service? I'm thinking not so much about the initial price, but should you, for example, offer a discount for an extended commitment, maybe 3 months or a year? And if so, how much of a discount should we offer?
So we try to ask customers, why don't you put commitments, like you said, like tell someone, I'm giving you a discount if you are with us for 3 months. And if you are breaking in the middle, you will need to pay a penalty or pay back. And I didn't expect this answer, but a lot of people said, oh, I will get chargebacks. I said, why will you get chargebacks? Because they say people forget that they committed to fees, and it is not very common today to have those commitment fees on those type of services. It might be some, in telcos we had them in the past, but in the streaming area they are less used to that. So you need to consider, not to get afterwards the punishment for,
right.
for doing something like that.
Go ahead.
Regarding the discounts amounts, I think that it's important to have data before you decide about the strategy. And we believe that in the subscription industry, there are actually three main important KPIs that everyone should look at. And in order for you to assess how to go into campaigns and what will be the discount that you are referring to.
So one of the interesting things I found, we did, Vindicia sponsored a survey that Enscreen Media did about a couple of 3 years ago now, that was published in 2019. And one of the things we found was that higher discounts aren't always better. So we actually found that there was an optimal discount. If you went above that, actually fewer people were interested than before. So it's not necessarily higher is always better, right? There's very definitely a sweet spot there that people can zoom in on.
Yeah, you're right. And it's also, you might try to see if you can not to tailor the discount that you're giving to the different customer segments, and to decide what type of customers you want to acquire, because it's not always about the quantity, it's also about the quality. So you might want to be able to segment the population by having discounts that allow you afterwards to track the results. So if you're giving coupons away, you can decide that you have different coupons for different channels. So you will be able afterwards to measure how many of the customers that came through this channel stayed with you. And also to understand, I think data is key. You need to know the results of actually those important decisions that you're doing.
I think you've hit on a really, I think, a painful subject, I think, for SVOD services. I know several services have partnered with Verizon Wireless and services like that to offer their new streaming service for free to certain tier of providers, of subscribers. And then at the end of that period, a bunch of people churned off who had signed up for service, but they really weren't interested and they really weren't using it. How would you advise people to find quality, get quality people signing up for a service?
Yeah, so, there are different techniques, but I think it relates again to the way that you are understand who is the target customers for the content that you're providing. And today, the range is so big. It's not only adults, kids are actually, I think today, even a bigger population of content consumption. So I think this is a real interest problem that streaming companies should have with understanding how to analyze the trends and how to analyze the right population. I think that, again, if you do trials of trying, like what we call A/B testing, but, try this, try something else, have all the tools in place to be flexible and to try new things. And if something is not working, you can just throw it away and try something else. So.
Yeah, you reminded me of something we talked about free trials. I think one concern that people have is that people will come in and binge their content and then just leave. Interestingly, in the survey that we did in 2018, in the Keep My Customer report, what we found was that actually very, very few, only 2 or 3% in both the UK and England were, I would say, recidivists in signing up and then cancelling within the free trial period. Most people ended up actually continuing to subscribe. So maybe that's an indication that people should trust the free trial as a really useful tool, right?
Yeah, I think it is a useful tool. I think that we heard, I think, in one of the sessions that you did in the past, that it's not enough you need to publish and to market and to advertise the content. Yeah. And this is important. So people, I can give you an example from my house that the kids were looking for anime. So and at the end they said, we want this channel because it gives the content that I want. So they actually knew what they are looking for. And then they made the decision to enroll. So sometimes, you know, it's nice to have the benefit of having a free trial, but I think that people today are very knowledgeable of what is happening.
Indeed. So one of the things that's always amazing to me is how hesitant I am to commit to another service, even though it's a relatively low amount. And part of my hesitancy is not being exactly clear about how easy it is to cancel a service. You think that people should be making this absolutely transparent from the word go, right?
I think this is key. If you, and I think that, you know, the registration process, I think it's like a first date. It's first impression is something that it's very hard to change. And it shows what will happen when you want to leave, yes? It's it's like you need to choose a husband that you want to, you know, that you will easily divorce from. Yes? So but to make things more serious, I think that it is very important to mention the terms of condition. When you will be, if it's a free trial, after how much time you will be charged, what will be the amount, if there is a discount, when you will get the full price. And to show always a cancellation option or a pause option or something else to let people know what are their options if they don't want the service. And even something more, today we are paying for those services upfront. So when we register, we are paying the fee and then we are getting access to the service for a period of time. Now, what is happening if I am canceling in the middle of the period? Will I get the money back? Will I get access to the service till the end of the month? This is also something to think about.
Now, you mentioned, one of the things you mentioned a little bit earlier was 3 KPIs that you thought were really important. You didn't mention what those KPIs are. Can you share with us what they are?
Yes. So I think that the first one is MRR or ARR. This is monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue. Depends on the period that you are selling your subscription for. Today, we see all the streaming services are selling for monthly, so you can look at your monthly recurring revenue. What is a monthly recurring revenue? It's how much money you are getting from your subscriptions based every month. And what is important is actually the trend, is if this is growing, is going down, it is like a wave, or what exactly is happening there. And it's important for companies to go and understand the correlation between specific events. For example, if they started a campaign or an acquisition campaign or something, how does it impact the MRR? So this is actually one. We know that the OTT segment can be characterized by seasonal interest. As you mentioned, people join to see a show. When the show is over, they are leaving. So you need to think what to do between shows. Will you bundle with an additional service so you can keep the customer there for more? Whom are you bundled with? Or maybe you can think of different pricing techniques. Keeping customers is important.
Of course.
Very important.
Yes, it is very important. So maybe it's a good opportunity for us now to sort of transition to talk a little bit about retention. So what should I be doing to reduce voluntary churn, to reduce, you know, to keep people longer, to stop them canceling so often?
Yeah, so there are a lot of things to do from business decisions, but also there are tools out there that can support your business decision and can bring some insights on what your customers are doing. So Vindicia is partnering, for example, with Redfast, and Redfast has a system that actually looks at what the customers are doing on the apps, on the content application, what they are showing, what they are pressing on, and they can actually segment the customers in a way that we can afterwards have personalized campaigns for this specific segment. For example, if you see a customer going to the account view for several times in a day, maybe they are looking for when is their subscription going to end. So maybe it's time for us to propose a lower price for the subscription. Or, there are a lot of insights that together with business, you can define and then track. I think I mentioned about the pause. I believe that we will talk about it a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's dive into pause right now. This is an option that I'm not quite sure how many people offer this, but certainly I would think it would be a great option for sports services, for services that provide headline content infrequently, but maybe don't have enough to keep everybody all the time. When should I be thinking about having a pause, and how valuable a tool is it in retaining a customer?
A pause, I think it's a tool to allow people that are like feeling a little bit of subscription fatigue, let's say, to give them a break, but to keep them with you. So pause, it's actually will keep. What are the benefits of it? When you are paused from a system and not canceling and then coming back, if you're using, you can keep your preferences, the content that you saw, whether where you're canceling and coming again, you're actually losing all this. So this is something that I think is good. And then each business should decide what will be the terms for the pause, if they want to allow it indefinitely, or they want to say, okay, we can let you stop for 2 months, 3 months, or whatever period that you want.
So keeping that customer information is really important, right? Because you don't want to put people through the process of
restarting. Yeah.
And it's actually another incentive for them to pause rather than cancel, right?
Yes. It's like you are still committed in a way, but not paying. So if people have some hard time, they can decide now to, to reduce their expenses on this service, but they know that they can come back later on. I think that in the box area, in the box industry, this is very well adapted. A lot of box providers want to keep you as a customer, maybe because the frequency is also on a weekly basis and not monthly. So they allow you to stop the service for 1 month, 2 months, 1 week, 2 weeks, and then come back.
And then restart.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it could be a valuable tool for service operators in the internet TV business as well. What about communication? How should I be communicating? I know I get a couple of my services do send me an email each week. Some of them are much more on point than others, I would say. Is that something that if I'm not doing, I should be doing, or if I'm doing it, am I doing it too much? How should I gauge my conversation with my customer?
I think that it's important to balance it to real points. I mean, because when we are getting emails every month, this is what's new this month. These are the movies that are coming this month. After the 3 months you got these emails, then you stop reading them, because I will get into the site and I will see what's new, correct? I will see the content. Anyhow, it will pop up in my screen. So I think that it is important to communicate when there is something good to say. So either there is a change on the content that you're providing, or you know that now you something important finished and people might leave, so you want to announce them of something else exciting that is happening or you have for them. So try to keep it interested and not to make it to be too recurring and standard, the same thing again and again.
So actually, it just occurred to me that there is another advantage to pause over cancellation, and maybe not so much here in the US, but in Europe, for example, with GDPR, you're only allowed to keep that personalization for a certain length of time after somebody is cancelled, right? So
Correct.
pause actually is like them giving you permission to keep that information so that you can continue to communicate with them in a very informative fashion, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on, so one of the things that we didn't talk about in the acquisitions phase was different billing models. We seem to be stuck on two models here in the US, and that's advertising based and subscription. That's not, there are other options, right? How should we be thinking about using those options?
Using what, sorry?
Those options, are those other options?
I think that we need to diversify, yeah. And as I said, I think because we are going to different audiences, and we need to adapt all the time for the new style of the new generation that is coming and consuming services. What I believe is that we will see shorter periods of time. We will see more of choose, and you know, each one will choose whatever they want, or you can give an option to subscribe to a service up to 3 whatever, I don't know, shows that you want to see with a smaller price. And I do see also a big variety on payment methods that will also come into place. Today, we are all allowing credit card and debit card, PayPal, different wallets. But what about Venmo? Venmo is so widely used between peers and between people to move small amount of monies. Why not use it also for corporate or cryptocurrency? Will we get there? So yeah.
Cryptocurrency.
Yes.
I don't know. I just cryptocurrency is, I guess, something I really don't understand very well. It kind of sends a shiver down my spine when I hear it. Okay, so we've talked about keeping people, and now the truth is that you're going to lose customers at some point. How should we be thinking about that? The process of allowing somebody to leave, and then what to do when they have, to try and reacquire them.
Yeah, so we need to be very, I think that if people see that they can leave the service easily, and also when they leave, we should tell them how they can come back. And I think that we should continue to keep in touch, if possible, allowing the rules, as you mentioned, GDPR, you're not always allowed to keep details of your customer with you, but if you can communicate with them, come back after 1 month, 2 months, and say, hey, we had something new, maybe you are interested to come and to come back, to give it a try. So this is one option. And I think that the most important part is about people that are leaving and we don't know they are leaving. So involuntary, we call it passive churn or involuntary churn, which this can be a huge addition to the revenue only by trying to avoid it. And we are doing it, and a lot of companies are talking about it. We are actually leading with our retention model and with models that we have in place to reduce passive churn. This is really important.
Could you explain how passive churn occurs? How does that happen?
Yes. So, you know, the payments industry is not a simple one. And there are a lot of hoops that you need to go from the moment that you press this button with purchase until the credit card is really, if we're talking about credit card, is charged. And there are a lot of systems, are the network card, the payment processor, the payment gateway. And all those systems are, let's say, not very well in sync. And we see that there are 100 error codes. When something is failing, you can have a very big list of reasons on why the payment is failing. Not always is related to your state of, you might have a lot of money in your account and still the payment will not go through. And this is where we are looking to improve actually, and retry to have retries in place to ensure that we are keeping the cards of our customers up to date. A lot of time, all of us have expiration date on our credit card, and every 4 years we are getting new cards. And we never go and update the subscriptions or the subscriptions with a new expiration date, correct? You never go and do that. But there are services, the processors are providing, the card network provide you this service. So if you can go and query, is this still the card of this person? And they will tell you if something is changed, they will tell you, no, he changed the card, he changed the expiration date. So if you need to keep the payment methods up to date, and then the chance of having a failure is actually low.
I had no idea that they actually updated you. You could actually ask if this credit card was still good to the credit card issuing.
Yeah, we are doing that, yeah.
So one of the things that's very surprising to me is that more services don't reach out to me when they see that my card is about to expire. Why do you think that is? Why aren't they reaching out to me to remind me to change it?
They don't want to bother you, so you will not remember to cancel the service. I think this is what is happening. And yeah.
Maybe that's right. Yeah, I mean, this involuntary churn thing, I didn't think it was as big a deal it is, but it turns out it is a really big deal, right? Because in that survey that we did in 2018, 2019, a quarter of the people we spoke to who had SVOD services said that they had been involuntarily cancelled. And what was really scary about that was more than a half of them never came back. That's why this is such an important issue for customers, right? For SVOD providers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to have a billing system or a partner to show you the information. So you will be on top of, we were talking about the 3 KPIs. I mentioned MRR, but the next one is actually understanding the difference between we call it the net subscription difference between new customers and churning customers. You need to monitor that all the time and to see, am I bringing in more people than are leaving, or there are more that are leaving than stay? Yeah, so this is, and we can show exactly the reasons why people churned and what is the percentage between voluntary and involuntary churn. And you can drill down into data and understand. There are a lot of techniques that can be applied to
Tell us about some of those.
Well, so the expiration, I told you the expiration date is one of them. There are so many indicators on transactions that are passing through all these filters, and we are actually connected with a lot of payment processors, and we have a lot of data. We processed like around 940 million transactions till now. So we are looking and we understand what each processor wants, needs, there are a lot of regulations coming now in place with the finance market that is opening. So each small thing is important. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about the communication aspect of how, one of the things that in that survey that surprised me as well was how effective email communications were in reacquiring customers, it put me in mind, Joanna, of something I've been told many times by service providers, and that is, you know, when you have somebody that's cancelled, they're a great option, they're a great target to try and reacquire, because they've already proven to you that they love your content, right? Because they did subscribe for a time. And it turns out that emails are actually very, very effective. Of the people that we surveyed back in 2018 and 2019 about this, about half of them who had been receiving emails said that they had ultimately gone on to resubscribe to a service. So this sounds like basic, you know, 101 remarketing, retargeting, is that you really should be doing this, right?
Yeah, and you should, I think, segment those customers and propose them some kind of help, you know, to come back, to give them either a discount or a period or a specific something, maybe a complimentary offer, not content related even. Sometimes people are, you know, they want to pay more for a service if they're getting a shirt that costs you $5.
So perhaps when you have new series, that's when you should be going back. That should trigger you to go back into your database to look at those people that watched the first series that are now no longer customers, and reach out at a very specific email with that. It constantly surprises me how I get generic emails where they're really not targeted. They don't seem to be targeted to me at all. And yet I'm a customer of that service, or I was a customer. This seems like a really basic mistake, doesn't it?
And this is strange because, you know, the technology is there, and you might think that having the technology available, people are really using it to understand what you are watching, because some of those streaming services are actually showing you on their first page, continue from the last episode you watched. So they know what you're watching. It's just a matter of taking this information and making it actionable on the reacquiring process.
And one of the things that people should be doing is really tracking, not just tracking on one screen, but tracking on all screens, right? Because although viewership is highest on CTV, connected TV, it's still significant on other platforms, right?
Yes, and I think that this, and giving, because of the different platforms that exist, having a good identity manager at that allow you to identify yourself, you know, even if you're bundling with different services, and make it seamless. It's important. So you will not need to remember this name and password for this and the name and password somewhere else, and make it as much as, I think simplification and personalization are the key outcomes we need to take from this.
You just mentioned something interesting, an identity manager. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
So identity manager is actually a system that allows you to define, to use once, to register once with a username and password. And then you can use this to log into different services. It's like we are having, I'm giving Netflix because everyone knows Netflix, yeah. So we are having a subscription with them, but then inside you have different profiles. You can define yourself and the other people in your family that are watching. So each one of those personas, it's a user, and you can track from them what are their habits, what they are watching, what they are interested in.
And is it possible to tie, say, my usage in Netflix on the CTV to my usage of Netflix on my phone? Can you know that can you really know that it's, well, I suppose if I've logged in, I suppose you know them, but some services don't have that login. Is it possible for them to know that it's me when they don't have a specific identity manager?
So I think that this is a key, that if you cannot use someone else's service, but if you are having an agreement, yeah, or you are bundle two services together, you should be able to identify the user, who is a user across the different channels and the different services.
Okay, very good, very good. So we're going to go into the Q&A session right now. I see we've got a couple of questions up there already. So if you have a question for Ioana, please put them up now. And Laura, can we put up the poll? Okay, so while you're absorbing the poll, we'll take a look at some of the questions. So first, from somebody wants to know, does the customer have to approve companies looking for another one of a customer's credit cards? So I think that's a question that when you were talking about the fact that when somebody, you can, as a service provider, you can ask if a credit card is still valid, that is registered with you, and this person is worried about the fact that can the credit card company give them a new credit card number? They can't, right?
It's only if you have the relationship. If you gave your card to a company and they keep it on file, they are allowed to get updates on it.
And they're allowed to
So
get
once you allowed the company to save your payment method for recurring payment, then any change on the card will be reported.
A change on the card, but if you get a new credit card number?
No, if you get a new credit card, no.
It's not tracked?
No, it's only for the ones that you approved.
Very good.
Yeah, no.
So one of the things somebody asked about pay-as-you-go, one of the things when you mentioned this sort of pay-as-you-go method, this is very commonly used outside of the internet TV industry, but almost nobody, I think I've only heard of one service who's talking about a pay-as-you-go model. That's this new service called Strum, which hasn't launched yet, which we interviewed on the show a few weeks ago. Why aren't more companies using this approach? It seems like it's working extremely well for wireless customers. And in fact, I think it's like a very large number of people are using pay-as-you-go accounts. So why aren't more people using it in this business?
I don't know. I know that for sure in countries that people don't have credit cards. So if we are looking at all the East in Asia and those countries that are developing countries, pay-as-you-go is a very common payment method, even for streaming companies. So I think there it's a necessity. Without it, you will not be able to keep your business. I think people are here a little bit more afraid to go. Maybe they are afraid of losing customers, of having this type of non-committed relation. You know, it's like you don't know if this customer will come back. If it's a subscription, it's like a little bit of more, you have more secure that they will stay. But I really think that the new generation will bring new patterns of consumption, and more and more will go either to give you an option to have lower prices if you see some specific parts, or to allow you to be more picky, or to give you pay-as-you-go. This is also something.
It seems like it could be extremely useful, because particularly you look at Disney, for example, not everybody is going to want to subscribe to that service. They'd like to think that everybody wants to, but not everybody will. Yet they've probably got one or two things that somebody would want to watch, they're not going to watch them. That seems like they're leaving money on the table, right? They could have an incremental payment model, which would, yeah, you know, somebody can just come and say, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $10 and charge me X for watching Hamilton or something. That seems like a great way of getting additional revenue.
Yeah, if you see, there are interest models, and I think that they are evolving all the time, because what we see with Disney and Hulu now Disney making all the movies available, for example, in the same day that they are going to the big screens. But even if you're a subscription, sometimes you don't need to pay, and sometimes you need to pay for them. correct. So there are movies that you need to pay $30 for 3 months if you want to see them, and then they will be part of the subscription. So I think that there is innovation in the models and adaptation to the new situation.
Yeah.
Evolving.
And it sounds like because of payment processes like Vindicia, those models are already supported, right? So it's not like you're asking something that can't be done. It can be done and is being done.
Yes, it is being done, and I think it's important to have flex. That's the reason that you need a partner that is flexible, because you can never know what tomorrow will happen. So you need to, when you choose a provider, find someone that can support not only what you think that you want to implement right now, but see that they are flexible enough that you can do recurring and one time. You can do different periods. It's not, you're not locked to 1 month to decide if it's a week or a month or a quarter. It's something easy to decide if you want to take payment ahead of time or at the end of the period. If you, I mean, supporting a lot of payment methods, because really it's changing all the time.
Yeah. Okay, Laura, so let's take the poll down and let's take a look at the answers. And let's see, do you think well-known brands need to offer free trials to maximize subscriber growth? Still, most people believe that at least a month or at least a week is required. I think that looks to me like 70%, and only 30% think that no free trials are needed. We'll have to see if eventually Disney relents and goes back to allowing a free trial period. I think HBO Max, didn't they drop it as well? I think they've dropped it as well. So maybe it looks like our audience at least thinks they might be making a mistake. Do you receive emails from SVOD services that you've cancelled? Only 26% said no. It looks like most other people do get them, although I will note that 30% say they get them and don't read them. I think I'm probably guilty of that with a couple of mine. So that's actually pretty, that looks pretty encouraging, Joanna, right? Because the majority of people are getting them and are at least reading them, right?
Yeah, I think that our best practice is to tell customers, don't try not to bother your current merchants with all the time mails, but when someone leaves, continue the communication.
So have you ever put on an online TV service on pause? Only 30% say yes. And let's see, the rest say no. It looks like most people didn't even know it was possible to pause. And the rest think it's none of the services I've cancelled offered it, and some of the services offered it, but I didn't use it. So of that group, it looks to me like more than half didn't know that it was offered, or it wasn't offered at all. So boy, it sounds like most of the services are not taking advantage of the idea of pause, Joanna.
Maybe we can spread the news.
maybe this will inspire them. So Joanna, thanks so much for spending time with us. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm going to hand us back to Ned.
Thank you, Colin and Joanna. Really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, I'm one who answered. I was not aware that you could put a service on pause. So that's good to know. Particularly, like there are kind of seasonal reasons why you might want to pause. So it's an interesting option to have available for people. Thanks again, Joanna and Vindicia, for supporting the show today. Colin, always love your moderating, so thanks for coming out again.
Thank
for the
you.
Business of Streaming.